Hello and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me on another of my wonderful interviews. Now, as you know, recently we've been talking about 5G. I did a video only the other day wandering around my own town to be absolutely dismayed and disgusted by 28 of these towers going up, ready to radiate mine and all the people who live in the town that I live in, their brain. Of course, we know this is going up and down the countryside all over the place. We know that this is part of the 15-minute cities, this sort of prison that they are building the infrastructure at this moment to contain us. We know about the depopulation agenda. We know about Agenda 21 and Agenda 30. We know also about the mysterious jabs that were given to everybody that were supposed to help people, and yet they're falling down. And I've recently read something like 2 billion people have been injured by this. It may be much higher. 20 million people apparently have already died. So there's a lot to talk about and a lot to think about. Well, one person who's been doing a lot of thinking on this and is looking to solutions, which is always the best thing rather than just moaning about what's happened, is a lady called Cassie, who started up the National Residents Association, and she joins me now. Hello, Cassie.
Hi, Richard. Hi.
How are you?
Tired, probably like a
Tired?
lot of everybody else. Yeah. With the
Tired
agenda.
and fed up with all of this nonsense that's heading our way.
Yes, basically. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised. We all are. We've been talking about this for some time, and I haven't been talking about it for that long, only about 19 months now. And of course, there's many people who've been sort of on the game for like 10, 20 years,
I
going,
know.
well, finally they're doing something, and now all that nonsense I've been telling people has been vindicated, because in the past people just thought I was mad. Well, now we know they're not mad, but still there's vast swathes of the population who have yet to realise what's going on.
Yeah. It's very true.
So Cassie, the 5G thing. Let's start with some of that, shall we say? Because that's a recent development in my town. Is the knowledge that this is going up. Of course, I've had people like Ian Jarvis and various other people on the show talking about how to put in your freedom of information requests and to start questioning whether there's liability, who's got the liability, and whether there's an environmental impact being done. And of course, people have been talking about the companies, the limited companies that are not even on Companies House. They've been dissolved, and so the Fraud Act on all of that. What's your thoughts on the whole situation, and where do we go with this?
Okay. So I realised quite early on, Richard, the overarching problem is, what do we have? Why do we think that this is going on for, should I say? I'll rephrase that.
Mm,
And the real reason is because we don't have public support, which means that we don't have public pressure. So that's what I identified quite early on. And a topic like 5G is very, very easy to talk to people about because you can see it. So when
right.
you can see something, it's easier to believe, right? So if we pick another topic like the COVID era, it was
Yes.
much harder to see, moreover, than, and then obviously the government did their psychological hijacking of the mind. It was
Absolutely.
very, very hard for people to see that. So therefore, the shutters come down. And with 5G, you can actually show people, which is the best thing about it. And we've been doing that quite far and wide throughout the country. And it's particularly effective when you go out with your high-vis jacket on, your lanyard, saying you're a resident association, you have your tri-field meter, because people will come up to you and they will say, "What are you doing?" And they will be scared. And you can talk to them about that, which is a good
Yes.
thing because it raises awareness and
Yes.
also creates that public pushback, which means that we can then say, well, actually, if you don't like this, then we can take that to the council.
Absolutely, because I mean, that's the thing I have been talking about in many of my videos is actually we've come to that point where ordinary everyday people don't need to know all the finer points of the big depopulation agenda and Agenda 21 and 30, and all, because when you present them that to them, they just go, "Oh, give over! Don't be so silly. You're a conspiracy theorist." But if, as you so rightly say, you can see one thing and you say, "Look, 5G it might be great to be able to download a movie in 2 seconds, but are we really that desperate if it's going to cause you health problems?"
Well, it's a build-up. What we've noticed is the build-up. So I've actually created a script in order to talk to people about it. So let's just say we get wind of a tower that's just about to go up. People have gone out in different pockets of the country. People have gone out and done a very targeted approach, and gone out with, as a residents association, and actually gone and knocked on people's doors and spoken to them about it. Now, from my side, what I've realised is that you have to do a build up, because you have to show people that there is a problem. And obviously, I usually start with something like along the lines of cost of living. So, we're very mindful that there's a huge cost of living issue at the moment. And at the moment, we're campaigning about this 5G mast. I'm not sure if you know what it is. Then you start telling them about the electricity usage. So, for an example, you tell them it's about 72 to 73 to 75, sorry, houses worth of power per day to fuel that 5G tower. People then are very interested. And if they've got one, then you can start talking about the symptoms like tinnitus, brain fog, these kind of things. And people then really do start to pay attention, because they've then realized that they're connecting the dots, that actually that is impacting their lives.
Yes, absolutely. And then once they're fired up, because it's personally affecting you, it's
Yeah.
not just an abstract something that, oh, well, that doesn't really affect me, so I don't have to get involved quite yet. But once they start to realize, hang on a minute, that's me, my family, my kids, it becomes a whole new ball game.
That's right. That's right. It's very much like cost of living and the war topic now that's happening. Well, it's not a topic. They are trying to, bring that into the equation. So it's very much like this. When people can see something, or they're feeling it, or they're experiencing it, what we have to do is take away that pre-misconception that we are conspiracy theorists, which we've been branded as.
Yes.
And it
Yeah.
works.
No. And it works, and you've been having success with that.
Yeah. All over
Yeah.
the different parts of the country. Yeah. Yeah.
Before we were started to record, I did say to you that I was thinking of doing a series of comic videos to try and get the message out, so that it would be shared outside the bubble that is the echo chamber of, that's the trouble when you run a YouTube channel. You have an audience, and in the end, it's almost like it's its own bubble of an audience. You're not reaching, because YouTube, very clever with their algorithm, will allow me to carry on talking and saying all these terrible things are going to happen. But it's only to those people who agree with me, which is really a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of the population. And the other people, even if they see it, it's so far removed from their everyday experience that they just would not even entertain it. So I thought it would be quite funny to do like a chap coming up to a 5G tower and looking at a sticker that's on it saying 5G, hazardous radiation, lethal to human health or something. And you just see him come up there and looking at it a bit puzzled. And then looks up at the tower, cut to a wide shot of him looking up at the tower, and his head explodes.
I think that's
And
brilliant.
that would be it, bang, it's like done. As if to, so that you are questioning, is this a dangerous thing? And it's about planting seeds, isn't it? In layman's terms.
And that's all it's all about, really. I would say, is planting seeds with layman's terms, because what you're starting to do is you're starting to build a relationship with your community. And that's why they've disconnected us. I mean, they did a really, you take us back to the COVID era, families, friends, people. We had key workers that turned into Nazis, essentially. And, they took this superiority role. But now what we're seeing is everybody's being affected, whether that's cost of living, whether they're worried about, they're saying now that 64% of the people in the UK are actually worried about having war with Russia, right? So this is all from Statistica. And then 60% of people are also worried about cost of living. So then if you then look at a smart city and you start building a relationship with your community, you can start then saying, well, hang on a minute, our council's been given 100 million to develop a smart city. Surely that can't be right when we're in a cost of living crisis.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's interesting, as you were talking about that, I was just thinking, people like me who've got these channels who find it very difficult now to reach a new audience because we're talking, as you and I are, about a subject that we both understand, but that a lay audience would not understand or find difficult to engage with because it's too preposterous for them. Then I thought, well, hold on a minute. So how do I reach these people to talk in layman's terms and plant those seeds? Well, of course, I can't do that unless I actually go out on the street and do stuff. But what we can do is gather our, and I hate to use the word army, but our foot soldiers, but effectively that's what they would be, to help them find the tools to do just that. That if I've got 200,000 subscribers, now if 200,000 of them said, oh, I'll go out just for one day and look up at the 5G tower as it's being done there and start scanning it with one of those trimeters, and people talk to me, what an impact that would make.
Yeah, honestly, Richard, I swear, because the issue has been that we have to get taken seriously by the general public. So we've worked really hard to take away that illusion of not being taken seriously. And if like you said, if everybody did this and more people help, but widespread, wherever it doesn't even matter, you don't even need to be in the UK per se. But even if people got involved and did that and took little pockets of action, I reckon we could make a serious big difference with people going to support people in local council meetings, having more people. Other people are good at talking with the general public and happy to knock on people's doors. And that's how we have to be, because obviously we've got to get it beyond our echo chambers. That's always been the problem. And that's where this agenda is carrying on, and smart city infrastructure is being rolled out, and it's creating a prison for us. That's what it really is doing.
So anyway, so that's the smart city that is going to, with bollards talking quietly and Alexa listening and pretending to be our boss. I mean, but many people have already got that suspicion that things like Alexa is listening to us and their smartphones recording everything we say. How close do you think we are to all of this?
Okay, very. I
Big
think
question.
I read somewhere that they are due to complete their smart city rollout in March 2025.
So less than a year.
Yeah. And in addition to, I've done some further research about the camera situation, and I think your viewers may be very interested in hearing about this, is that China is obviously the third largest country in the world, as we know. They're the most heavily surveilled country. The UK is now the second most surveilled country in the world. Now in China, they can actually capture people that go against the grain within 7 minutes.
Blimey.
Yeah. And over here, now we have that many cameras over here that it's 11 per people per camera. And they're looking at continually rolling that out. So obviously that feeds into the smart city agenda with your 5G towers, and it all is building a geofencing, and obviously with the cameras are essential so that they can keep tabs on you. But that also applies with the biolocation with your phone. Unless you're some high level hacker and you can, or your phone's de-Googled, they know where you are, and that's why on all this surveillance. Yeah.
So I mean, number one would be to get rid of your phone.
Well, I mean, the problem is, Richard, we wouldn't be doing this now. So there's good parts and there's bad parts. It's just being used against us. That is the issue. Yeah.
Yeah. So a de-Googled phone, or one that you can, or an old phone.
Yeah. Downgrading is the way forward right now. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've even thought of like getting back into CB radio. And whilst people can listen into CB radio, they have to be nearby to listen into it because its output isn't terribly strong. But and you can be on the move, so constantly on the move. Whereas mostly, I imagine this sort of technology on the phone is done in a remote place in the middle of absolutely nowhere, with all the computers doing it. But if you're on the move with your CB radio, 10.4, 10.4, big buddy, Um, there's a convoy, whatever it goes. Do you remember that film, Convoy?
No.
You're too young. You've got to look up the film Convoy with the whole 19. I think it was 19. There's Rubber Duck and all the stuff. I'll have to look that up.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, I can remember the tune. Da, 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 da. There's a convoy. It was basically truckers in America on a convoy with the police trying to stop them and all of that. It was great. But they were using CB radio to communicate and sort of sorting out the police left, right, and centre. And in a way, it's kind of guerrilla tactics that we may well be having to go back to. And I remember in my childhood, there was an old army telephone that my dad had. God knows where he got it from. That you wind up like this and you connect it to telegraph pole wires, and you can talk to somebody. Well, as a kid, we had two of these, and we would be at one end of one field that was connected across by barbed wire. So we would connect one with the other, and we could talk to each other on this phone. It was a private line, obviously, because it was just going across the. I mean, as kids, you're mucking about, but you're thinking, hang on a minute, that kind of technology, that very simple technology. If you're on the run, if you're trying to do stuff below the radar, we're going to have to find all these sort of things. The old leave a message in a hollow of a tree in code. All of this stuff.
That's a good idea. I like that one, Richard. Yeah.
I mean, it's all it's in the old stories, the old romantic stories of the Scarlet Pimpernel and things like that, and the old techniques of the French Resistance. I mean, it's all out there for us to do, and these hackers and what have you, it's not using digital. And if we can avoid digital, then my background, sorry, this is supposed to be an interview for you talking, not me, but my background was when I left school, I went into printing. Now, if it came to it, I could still get hold of a Multilith 1250 printer. And I'm sure I could still have the memory to ink it up, make a plate, and print off reams of paper so that you could distribute old-fashioned by paper information rather than post it on place. Anything digital can be looked at and infiltrated, but a bit of paper that you hand from one person to another, is something that is very difficult to stop unless they stop the paper and start stopping people getting in.
All in the guise of being sustainable, probably.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, you can't try to cut another tree down. Hang on a minute. You've cut down a whole load of trees to put your 5G in, so you've got this horrible beam line of sight.
They've chopped down 18 million trees in Scotland,
18 million trees.
Yeah, 18 million.
Which is supposedly their giving the oxygen, and would ordinarily, according to their science, would be getting rid of that nasty CO2 they don't like.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible.
Where's the logic?
CO2. I know. It's not only been here for the entirety of our lives, but yeah. Now they just want to get rid of it all. Yeah.
I mean, is this not? These are arguments that you can use with the general public, surely. If they use knocking down trees, and you go, why are they knocking down all these trees? Because trees sequester CO2, holds it in for hundreds of years until they fall to the ground, and yet all those trees now will be falling down, and whatever you do with them, they're going to they either biodegrade or you'll burn them. Either way, the CO2 will be going into the atmosphere, causing the so-called global warming problem.
It's a simple question that I ask if I'm talking to the general public, is feeding into the narrative is a great one, saying, well, obviously I'm very worried about the climate crisis, and the council have declared that there's a climate emergency. So we're very interested to know, because obviously these new 5G towers in our local area are outputting so much electricity, and now we're quite worried about the radiation. I'm just wondering how much of an impact that will be having on the environment.
Oh yeah, so use the same argument back at them. Because if these are microwave technology, which they are, they're incrementally heating up the atmosphere, and if there's hundreds and thousands and millions of these bloody things everywhere, my God, that's hundreds and thousands of incremental heat going up, which collectively it's got to be a bad thing. Surely, actually, if we think about this is probably not good for the planet, is it?
It's just common sense is the cure, Richard. That's that's
Yeah.
that's the real thing here. Yeah.
How much power, though, do you think the public? I mean, we can seed the public and say, look, convince them, and they're all going, oh golly, yeah, this is bad. How much power do the public have against stopping these things? Because you have those procedures with the council. You go an FOI and a freedom of information request, and then there's this sort of backwards and forwards, and then they say, oh well, there's this blah blah, and we're not telling you quite this. And then what do? And you may bring one down. Meanwhile, another 30 have just gone up.
But yeah, there's groups of people around the country that are monitoring masks, and people should be monitoring how. And if you don't know how to monitor a mask, get in touch, because it's really easy. We were even doing a little training session on my regular Tuesday call last night, and just looking at different council websites as to how to look at these things and where to find them, and how they're hidden. So people can object, and then going out, like we had an exercise the other day where they decided in Swindon. I don't live in Swindon, but I wanted to help them. They were putting 4 masts up all at the same time. So what we did was we literally just created a little slip from the Swindon and Wiltshire Residents Association, putting the application number on there, leafleted 400 houses with a 5G leaflet. And, members of the general public started to do it. But also people like us can independently do it as well. So objecting is one thing, but in addition, we really need to stop these going up. I believe that it will all be back to public pressure. I mean, can you imagine if enough voices said, no, we don't want this? That's what we need.
Well, we do, absolutely. I mean, this is the argument I make, that nobody's been asked if they want it.
No.
No one's knocked on my door, especially at the election. I mean, this is I've been waiting for some poor sap who's standing as a candidate from whatever party, it doesn't really matter, the knocking on my door. I will be only too welcoming, saying, oh no, do come in, I really am looking for the right person to vote for. Are you the candidate who's going to say, actually we are going to get rid of 5G? Are you the candidate who says categorically the net zero policies is a waste of time? Are you the candidate who's going to stop the geoengineering in the sky? Are you the candidate who's going to stop the fluoridation of water so that we can drink healthy? Are you the candidate who's going to promote healthy organic food and stop the spraying of all sorts of nasty things on that and the highly processed and so on and so on? It's like, wouldn't it be nice to live in an environment in which we're not being radiated by EMF everywhere we go? Perhaps you're the candidate that we need. And the poor bugger will be going out going, oh my God, I wish I never went to his house.
Well, I tell you something, actually, Richard, on this, really, really funny, because I went out the other day with this when I went to Swindon, and I had the high-vis jacket on with the Swindon and Wiltshire Residents Association. I was just going out leafleting, but what happened was really interesting. On the journey of doing this for a couple of hours, I met 3 different people, and they all said to me, "Are you an MP? Are you running for?" And I said, "No, no, no. I'm from the Residents Association." And they said, "Oh, I didn't realize we had one of those, And then they said, "Well, who do we vote for?" And I said, "Well, whoever you vote for," I said, "the more our community know about a residents association and our community, the more we can make sure that these new people that are elected hold true to what they say that they're going to deliver." Oh, I didn't think about it like that. So it kind of put a different spin on it.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Of course, the thing that goes through my mind is that whomever it is and promises whatever they promise, because they all promise the same thing, don't they? They promise that we'll protect the borders, we'll improve the NHS, we'll make sure policing is all good, and we'll improve children's education, all this kind of bollocks. And they'll say the same thing, which of course they've said the same thing since year dot, and nothing has changed. In fact, everything's got a lot worse, and all freedoms are taken away. And then of course there'll be, we're at war with Russia. So all those things that we promised have to go, well, they're on hold, because now we need to take all your freedoms away. And somebody just sent me a link to something which says that if Starmer gets in, we're all going to be forced, if you've got a spare bedroom, never mind the bedroom tax, you're going to be forced to put a migrant in there.
Yeah. And in addition to, they've already primed the public for that as well. I think it's a selection, not an election. And that's another reason why we need to be out in our communities and building some form of relationship with them as a matter of urgency because of
Mm.
this. They've also told us that he is on a going to recoup 8.6 billion, and then the next day it changed to 7.3 billion. But they've said under his regime, sorry, I shouldn't say regime, but whatever we want to call it,
Yeah.
um, there will be power cuts. So that's, and then obviously if they take us to war and we don't know people around us, what's going to happen? People are going to be scared, sitting at home alone. This is already happening widespread. And that's how they habitually keep on taking over and keep on rolling out more and more of their agenda.
And it's interesting that they want to have power cuts. I mean, I find this is where their joined up thinking is completely like spaghetti junction. Because if you're saying actually everybody's got to have electricity, you can't have an ordinary gas boiler, you've got to have an electric car, you must have photo what's the name cells, the solar panels. If you've got to have all of this technology, and then oh, by the way, there might be power cuts, you go, oh, hold on a minute, it doesn't make sense then to have everything electric. If I've got to have my lights electric, which most people do, my gas cooker electric, I've got to have heating electric, and then in the winter comes oh, sorry, power cut. You think, what was the point of that policy then? Surely we should have had as many diverse different types of energy so that if you are going to throw a power cut at us, we can at least keep ourselves warm and cook.
Yeah. And
Um,
it's a serious question to ask, but or is there an agenda behind that?
well, of course,
Therefore,
there is the agenda.
yeah, yeah, because and that's why, because I was thinking the other day, if people knew their communities better, we
Mm,
could start things like neighborhood watch. So if the power does go down, because we know there are huge issues out there, i.e., people hiding in hotels, these kind of problems that we have, that's where we have to bring it back to the community. That's where
yes.
we have to win them over.
Because I know that neighbourhood watch is that sort of look out for the burglar thing, but a neighbourhood support would be something in which you can go, oh, is Mrs. Jones all right in her house on her own now that there's a power cut? I'll take some candles round and I'll bring Meals on Wheels or whatever. Because, I mean, I've got a wood burning stove. So if they have a power cut, I'm going to be all right. I shouldn't say that because everyone will come around my house for a dinner now.
We know where to go, Richard.
Yeah, that's the trouble. But you'll be welcome. Bring a steak and, well, bring two steaks, one meat and one wood. So that's how you get a nice hot meal at my place. I can fire up, as long as it's not somebody's garden fence, don't bring in a bit of that and somebody's roadkill. That wouldn't be acceptable. Although you never know, if it's extreme, there would be a way of surviving, but
Hmm.
nobody wants that. I mean, another bit of this joined up thinking is the whole business that the government are saying, oh, because of global warming, we've got to repel sunlight, so by dimming the skies. But again, we want to build all these solar panel farms everywhere. Well, what's the point of having a solar panel farm if you've just blocked out the light? I mean, the solar panel won't do it, will it? It's like, oh,
Exactly.
hang did,
Layman's terms again, though, Richard, because you think about how much they are taking, how much land they're starting to occupy with having all of these solar panels in there. We can clearly see that that is another agenda in its entirety because they are taking over the land, and they're probably. I,
mm,
I wonder what sort of type of leases they're doing. Because I mean, with the farmers, they're going under the guise of rewilding, so meaning that they're taking away their land as they're going along. But it's the same kind of thing with solar panels because they're doing as of the same, and we know that that is not green because that's not helping the environment at all, probably. I could,
no, I was down at Lime Down it was in Wiltshire, and it's about 2,200 acres of solar panels are going in, which these areas, these blocked off areas, are 5 times your sort of typical little village, the size. And the farmers have been offered £1,000 an acre. So if you'll say you've got 2,000 acres, well, you can work that what that is, 2,000 for a year for doing nothing,
yeah,
rather than having to get up in the morning and whatever it is you do, milk the cows or grow corn or whatever. And then as well as that, you've got the blight of the cable, which is 13 miles long, being cut through various places. And then these container ship sized battery packs which are 2 stories high, holding all this so-called electricity. Well, if you know anybody living anywhere near that, you've got all that radiation from the battery. You've got all the radiation of these sun-seeking solar power, I mean, which must be spinning around like a gyroscope, going, "Where's the bloody sun? I'm supposed to be seeking the sun, but that, you know, I should have been in the desert somewhere because there's no sun because they've dimmed the bloody sky."
Yeah.
You know, so the noise of all of this, you know, these motorized things, anybody living anywhere near all of this, I mean, they're just doomed
I mean, but this whole
60
war,
years.
this whole
60
war,
years.
this
Yeah,
is
sorry.
no, sorry, but this whole war is completely illogical.
Yes.
They tell
Yeah,
us that this is green. It's illogical because it's completely defies every fibre and being of what we've known to be green. You can see that.
absolutely. And in layman's terms is the way to put this across to the layman.
That's right. And you know, and now I like to talk a new one about LED street lights, for an
Oh,
example.
yes, here we go. Yes,
Yeah.
go for it.
Well, there's two things here. One is that LED streetlights, or the RAC, have a petition out against LED streetlights in the cars, which I think screams volumes because a lot of people cannot see whilst they're driving.
Mm.
So knowing that a big company like the RAC even have a petition about stopping putting LED car lights in cars, that says a lot. That's number one. Number two, I think they are using more electricity. And number three, they've got incapacitator streetlights as well, which can incapacitate your body.
So explain just to those who haven't heard about that incapacitator streetlights.
Um, right. So I've got posted something on the channel a little while ago, and unfortunately, I was having a chat. Well, I was having a chat with Azif one day, and we were talking about my smart city series that I'm putting together. And he said to me, he told me about the LED incapacitator streetlights, and I said, "Sorry, can you explain that?" And he said, "Yeah, they can make you disorientated, dizzy, and unconscious." Hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very friendly.
Mm.
And
So
they're going up all over the place, or they're already here.
Well, they're already here. They're not so common as your normal LED street lights, so they're slightly different. But yeah, yeah, if people want to check that out, it would definitely be worth a watch just for
Mm.
protection of people.
So
Yeah.
the thing is, I would get somebody like Mark Steele on the show to talk about these things, but then the channel would disappear because he is very, let's say, he's being watched and all of that. And a lot of people do ask me to have him on the channel because he knows about military grade weaponry. And he has some very interesting claims, let's just put it like that, about some of the technology that's being used, which, of course, a lot of us would agree with. But it's getting that over to the people. So all these different things are being used against us, and by stealth they're being put in, and it's all for our convenience and for our benefit and safety and for our health. Oh, you just dropped dead. Sorry about that. Can we have another health minister, please? You know, this does seem to be one of the problems. How do we empower people to actually make a difference? I mean, you know, telling them and planting the seed is one thing. Obviously, people do get frightened very quickly because they've been trained to be frightened. And most of us have given away all our responsibility to places like the councils. So we're not used to standing up. You know, when you think the old days, people used to go to the village halls. They used to go to debating chambers. They used to, you know, have an argument with whomever was in charge because you couldn't talk to them via email and all this sort of stuff. And people would have meetings and it would get a bit rough, perhaps, if they disagreed. These days, people have been so dumbed down, not well, let's just leave it at that. And they don't know how, or they're not feeling confident in being able to approach a council and saying, "Oi, take it down."
Yeah. Okay, so this is a really good point, and I think we are all enlightened for a reason, Richard. And it first starts with empowering yourself. So once you take that power within yourself and you try something like, it doesn't mean that people have to join us, but if you know, once you take that and you utilize it in the way that we've done it, it works, because when you go out to talk to somebody and you realize it works, you've empowered yourself. So it's taking away that concern from yourself initially, I think, is one of the main issues of why people don't take action sometimes, because they don't know what to do and they're worried. But once you see it works, the confidence then comes in you, and then you feel more confident, and it carries on like that.
Yes, I think that's very true.
It does. It's empowerment of the thyself, first of all, 100%.
I guess I mean, in a way, you could sort of equate it to like learning a language, and you go, you learn how to ask for a cup of tea, or whatever it might be, and then so it's easy at home and you're with your friends, and you just think, oh, I don't actually go and do this in another country or to a French, but whatever language it is. I've just taken French, for example. And then the first time you do anything like that, it's like, oh my God, I'm asking this question. Will they think I'm a complete idiot?
Yeah.
But once you've done it and they've gone, oh yeah, no way, and they give you, whatever it is, then then that your confidence builds, and it's about taking those tiny steps to build up to the larger stride.
Yeah. And you'll be surprised, because we started this off with the Swindon team. This whole strategy started off there with the kind of overview that we were going to show people, because people need to see something that works, or because obviously people are, and it worked. It worked. So they implemented the strategy, made some videos, we put it out on the channel. And yeah, now we've got branches all over the country doing similar things, or different variations of similar things. And it works, because what we're doing as well is we're learning what's happening at one side of the country about a part of the agenda that they might be trialing, and we're learning about things in advance before, and ways, then we can start thinking about ways of how we can overcome some of these problems that we're experiencing.
Yeah, so small incremental steps, and then build up that confidence, and as you say, join something like the National Residents Association. So how easy is it to join? And tell us about the actual association then. How did that come about? And you said you started it, so that's a very laudable thing.
Well, okay, so what happened was I originally worked on an original project, and I was working on different segments. And as I was going along this journey, I realized that what is the missing link as to why this is not having some overarching effect. And then I realized the problem is, and I thought, well, the reason why this agenda is going on is because we don't have the support of the general public, and therefore we don't have access to the mainstream media, because they won't come and watch your channel, Richard,
No,
which is
no.
which is the problem, right? Because if we did, it would probably have resolved a long time ago, and I wish people would. But people are so ingrained in that. So I knew I had to do it in a slightly different way to get out to the general public. And I learned about the benefits of a residents association. I was having a chat with Catherine Armrich one day, and she said to me about a residents association. I said, right, that's it. I'm going to start a national residents association. And that's how it started. Yeah. So I just went off and kind of, yeah, created it really.
And so let's. Oh, hello. Let me just find the. I'm just looking for the website. Hang on. Where? Oh, that's because I'm on the wrong page. So here it is on the website. We'll leave the link in the description so people can go and have a look at it. So you've got here your branch finder. So how many branches do you have now?
I don't know actually.
All right,
Know
fair
how
enough.
many there is, but open it up, because it will take you to, I think we've got a little map of the
Oh yeah, here
UK.
we go.
So
Fantastic. Look at that. Off the top of my head, can't count that, but there's copious amounts. So you can go and find out where they are. And presumably, if you haven't got one, can you start one?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we will set you up. We have a regular team calls, which is every Tuesday, so people can come if they want to come. And yeah, absolutely, would be more the merrier. The more people that do this, the more we can stop this agenda. That's the way I view this.
Absolutely. So there we go. Look, that's how you can do it. You're dealing with a whole load of different, as we've been discussing here, issues. I mean, the 5G clearly is one of the big ones at the moment.
Yeah.
And the advantage of that is, as you said earlier, you can see the towers. The disadvantage is you can't you just don't know when they're on until you start feeling something, and most people wouldn't necessarily know that the symptoms they're getting is from that tower. You know, if you're getting headaches and sleepless nights, you might wonder what it is. But if you can put the two things together and go, oh yeah, they put that tower up only last week, and now I'm getting these sort of problems.
Yeah.
I'm just looking to see what else. You also tell us the information about the World Economic Forum, etc. And the tri-field meter. Are these relatively cheap to buy? Can people buy them and try them out themselves? Presumably they can. I must get one actually.
Yeah. Yeah, you can go and buy, yeah, you can get one. The thing that I like about the trifield, I mean, someone like Ian Jarvis or, they would be, it's not as technical, but it doesn't really matter because what I like about this is the cause and effect. Because it makes a screeching noise, you can show people that there is a problem.
Right.
You see, that's the good thing about it. So going back to the layman's term side of things, it does do a pretty good reading, but it's not as technically advanced as some of the meters out there. But because of the screeching noise, it really does emphasize and highlight
Yeah.
that there
And
is a problem, and
and
that's
a,
what we're looking for.
and a lot of that is down to psychology, isn't it? I mean, once you've sort of you're pointing it at something and it's making one of those noises that people recognize from the 60s films where they had the Geiger counters and they're going oh Christ, people will sort of go, oh my God. And then the fact that you're wearing, if you're wearing a hazmat suit or something, and you've got all these things going, I've got protection and I'm all right, but what about you? Oh, you're being radiated something rotten. I wouldn't stand there too long, or otherwise you'll be my dog's dinner. I use a lot of humor, as you can imagine. Humor is a great way to get messages across, isn't it?
I think so. I think so. Yeah, it depends really, doesn't it? But I think
I mean, obviously you don't want to make too light of something so they just think, oh, it's a joke. The bloke gets his head blown off because he's standing down there. But the point of humor is to get people to relax, understand what you're talking about, even if they think it's a joke, only to sort of relate that to somebody else who then says, oh yeah, they are spraying the skies, or oh yeah, that is true, the radiation can be a problem. It's the same as putting your head in a microwave. You wouldn't want to do that. I mean, that would be another, again, I would have a microwave and go, yeah, actually, I've got my own Faraday cage. I'm all right with my head in the microwave because the radiation can't get me, unless, of course, I turn it on. Yeah, that
true
might not
though,
be.
Richard. It's true. That's the
And as somebody said to me, these tin hat foil people were ahead of the game, weren't they? If we all had bloody tin foil hats on, we wouldn't get radiated quite so much.
no,
It'd have to be quite thick tin foil, I would imagine.
I'd
But
imagine.
there's an irony in and of that, in and of itself. We've only got a few minutes left on here. Is there any other areas that you want to highlight or mention on the show?
Yeah, just one other thing as well. So
Mm.
we're trying to take the general public on a journey with us now. Obviously, that goes back to people like us. And I just want to give you a little bit of an example as to one of the branches. Um, Essex Residents Association, this was the plan to try and get people to do this everywhere. They have been very active a lot along with a lot of branches actually, so I don't want to but they paved the way and they set up a public meeting and they leafleted 200 houses and they got 47 people from the general public that turned up that wanted to listen to about topics like 5G and things like that. So it's building that relationship with the community that's key, and I think that's one of the main things that I personally feel that we need to focus on as a nation right now before we do see unforeseen amounts of change.
No, I absolutely agree. I mean, it all comes back down to grassroots and what the people decide, because ultimately the authority lies with us.
That's right. That's right. And it's just because people feel so disempowered, that's why they don't know what to do, you see. So when I put a solution in place to these people that ask me about the elections and who do they vote for locally or in the general election, I was quite astonished. I've never spoken to these people in my life before. but telling people that there's something beyond them, that's a community of people, makes people go, oh, right, okay, they can be a part of something, and we can take them on that educational journey, which is quite urgently needed, I would say.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And more power to you for bringing this to the attention of all the people that you do, and for setting up the National Residents Association.
Thank you.
And so I'd urge people to check it out on the website, to watch that video again, and other bits and bobs. You've got a Telegram channel as well, which I can, I guess I can pull out the URL for, or whatever it is, or people can go to the website, I guess, and find that. And it would be interesting to hear back from people who are members, who've already done it or are thinking of doing it. It would be great to have you back, Cassie, in sort of like 3 or 4 months' time, to see, have an update on progress and success stories. I think one of the things that we're very bad at doing on alternate media is, in order to get views, you have to kind of tell disastrous stories, and do the fear mongering, which is really annoying. Because if you put something positive, Mrs. Miggs' cat survived, it's like, well, who cares? But, Mrs. Miggs' cat got run over by a steamroller. Oh, God, I want to see that. And it's a shame. But what we do need to see is the fact that we're winning, and that we are actually pushing back, and these things do get resolved, and there's another tower that hasn't gone up, or here's another day they've not sprayed the skies because there's too much pressure on them, or whatever it is, or that more people are drinking raw milk, or whatever, or supporting their local farmer. We need to get more of this sort of, so that we normalize properly normal behavior.
Yeah. And that all goes back to us, Richard.
It certainly does. So we're all responsible for it. Take back responsibility and pass it on.
No pressure, everyone. No pressure.
No pressure. Well, we're going to do the best we can. We have no other choice.
No, we don't.
That is the truth of the matter. We can't lie in bed and just let it roll over, because there is nobody over the horizon. And even if there is somebody over the horizon who's going to do it all for us, they may want to do it their way and not our way. So it's far better to be empowered and be able to have the last say ourselves. So, Cassie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute joy. I'll leave the link in the description. People can find out more and support what you're doing, and get involved and support themselves, which I think is very much part of your message there.
Yeah.
Well, in the meantime, I'll be back with more monologues and more wonderful guests. But good luck. Keep up the good work, Cassie, and thanks for coming on the show.
And thank you for having me, Richard.
So there we are, ladies and gentlemen. You have been empowered. There is no excuse. Get on with it. Save the world, please. That would be nice. And until next time, from Cassie and I, take care. Bye for now.